No, it's me that's talking about it.
Brilliant.
Welcome to
MyGuy Reviews, the podcast. Guys, welcome back to MyGuy Reviews, the podcast. I'm your host, MyGuy Break. I'm joined by MyGuy Monkey. How you doing?
Hello. Hi, I'm doing good. You can hear me today?
Yes, perfect. Crystal
Good.
clear.
Good.
So before we even talk about the topic, I thought let's do a sidetrack and then we'll come back to the topic idea. So in the description,
I'm ready.
in the description,
I'm ready.
Oh, you're giving too much away. In the description, I was going to write, we review the greatest trilogy of all time, and I won't put what it is, and then we'll put some jumbo words in, but underneath there, we'll actually put the title of the film in. So we'll put it in later on. See if anyone actually listens to it that way. What I thought, we never do this, but should we talk politics?
Politics, okay.
Politics. So something big just happened over the last couple of weeks. It's been rumbling for quite a while that this was going to happen. And, I've been a massive defender of this person and everything they do. And, I have to say the last 4 or 5 years, I've been really impressed with what they've done, what they've achieved in such a short time in power.
Okay.
And I feel like they've taken everything forward to the next level.
Right.
But just this last week, I'm actually no longer going to be a defender. I feel like, they've let me down. I couldn't believe this. I was pulling my hair out. I cried almost. This was like, it's gut wrenching, right? So
what did Dwayne do? What did Dwayne do?
I supported them. They got into power. They've done all these amazing things, right? They've constantly, in my opinion, they've unified the world, I believe, in a singular place. And they've had this incredible power for so long. They've done so much amazing stuff. But finally, they let me down. I couldn't believe it. Like, were you shocked as much as I was?
I don't know. You haven't told me who it is yet. And I'm not going to assume anything.
So I'm talking Disney. Like I said, Disney. Yeah. See, I've been a massive defender of Disney, and you always hate and shit on them all the time.
Are you changing sides?
Only until I get like a response to this. So Disney obviously took over Fox and they own the whole world now, right? So because you were talking about why are the Simpsons on the Disney streaming, why the mutants come back, all that. Anyway, I've all been like, yes, they could own everything. I don't care because they make good quality entertainment, right? I enjoy the Marvel movies. I love Pixar.
Until the live action, I'll defend yourself.
Yes, the live actions are not that good. Who knows? Mulan might be the best one yet. But because they're dropping, so good thing that they did. They announced that obviously cinematic movies aren't going to be released, but the movie Soul, which was my to-watch movie of the year, is coming straight to Disney streaming, free of charge if you pay for £6 a month, which is actually it's a good bargain because for £6 you could watch that. Plus, you can watch a whole bunch of other things, or $6, $7, whatever it is in your home currency. That's not a bad deal. But then what they've done is, since they've taken over a whole bunch of 20th Century Fox stuff, and their own stuff, they're normally shifting dates. So I don't have a problem with that. So Black Mirror, Black Widow will come out next year. Eternals come out next year. Now, where I draw the line is when they move something and they don't give it a new date. So they have moved Free Guy.
No, not Free Guy.
Ryan Reynolds. Yes, exactly. This was a highly anticipated movie of the year.
The most anticipated movie of 2020, or is it 2021 now?
We don't. It's infinite. So they've
what year is it now?
That's it. For now, they have indefinitely put it on hold.
Disgusting, man.
Exactly. I've always been pro Disney. I've said, they've done an incredible job, and the MCU's amazing, Pixar, all of that stuff. And now
it turned evil. You can see it.
I can't believe it. Look, if you just gave me a date, I would have been happy. But no, it's gone. It's gone.
And you just watch anything with
Ryan Reynolds.
No, I was thinking more like press conferences and stuff. There's always like an evil person there trying to control everything and trying to mess everything up.
Yes.
Like,
so I just started our podcast on the downer, but I couldn't believe it happened.
It's like
Free Guy, yeah.
it's literally at the moment, since everyone's locked down indoors, they're playing video games more than ever. So Free Guy is like of people might actually watch. It's
Exactly.
in people's interest.
The thing is that you could do it like obviously Mulan, for whatever reason they put in like a $30 price tag to it. If they release the film and say, okay, it's not coming to cinema, but we'll make it available so you can watch it like a cinematic release, so pay £10 or $10 and you can have it for 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever it is, on your computers, TVs, whatever. That would work. And you're right, a lot of people are sat down at home, they're playing video games. This was going to be our December, this was going to save the whole year. Ryan Reynolds as as this Free Guy was going to save the whole year. The whole, no pressure on the film, no pressure on Ryan Reynolds.
I mean, it looked like a pretty weak film, really, but it looked fun.
It, man. It was going to be great. It's going to be good. Oscar bait. It was going to be Oscar bait. It was going to be exactly. Yeah. So sorry to start the whole podcast on a downer.
That's such a shame.
It's pooping it. Yeah. So obviously stuff is moving around, which makes sense. I had 3 minutes. No, we can't. That's no, because it's 2 past 11:11. But yes, it's just a shame because a lot of things have moved, but they just didn't give it a new date yet. So maybe, who knows? In the next podcast, I'll be happier because they've given a date. All I want is a date. Just tell me it's coming out.
All you want is a date with a Free Guy.
Exactly. All I want is me, Ryan Reynolds, and a box of popcorn. I'm not asking for much, but no. Because if you're not going to make Deadpool movies, this is the closest I'm going to get to being with Ryan Reynolds. But on a side Ryan Reynolds note, the movie he's got with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Gal Gadot, I think, has wrapped shooting. So that's good news. It's a Netflix film.
Okay.
So I'm excited for that one.
That's the next best thing.
That is, exactly. He'll be in my house. I pay for Netflix, so I can watch him anytime I want. So, Shame on you, Disney. Shame on you.
Shame on you, Disney. Give us our movies.
Exactly. Just release them. I don't care how. I don't need to worry about whatever. However you want to do it.
I mean, at least I got my what was it? Bill and Ted. I got my Bill and Ted eventually in cinemas, and then the cinemas closed shortly after.
Yeah, you got it just in time. So Bill and Ted, I think, has done okay in general because they had both at the same time. So they had the cinematic release in certain smaller pockets, plus they had the VOD, and it kind of it's not a massive budget film, so it kind of works. We're talking about a movie that's kind of skipped cinema as well, but we're talking about one of the greatest cinematic trilogies of all time. Is this me overselling this, or is this me underselling this? Before we talk about or say the name of the film, where do you stand? Do you think it's one of the greatest? Do you think it's one of the most averagest, or do you think it's one of the least? Is it Hangover, basically?
That's difficult to say. I'd say it's at the moment it's got some ups and downs. But you're going to sell it as the best trilogy of all time.
It's the biggest and the best trilogy.
I'd say one of the movies in the trilogy is the best of all time.
Oh, okay, possibly. Well, yeah, we'll find out because I think you wanted to hold your cards very close to your chest. You didn't want to tell me anything about how you like or dislike these movies.
But you're going to change the movies we're talking about at this rate.
Yes,
you're gonna trick me. I can feel it coming.
I feel like this was groundbreaking cinematic movies as well, and in terms of adaptations, it's the highest, the one with the most critical acclaim for a trilogy, I believe. It's the highest grossing trilogy based on this sort of adaptation of all time. And I think it's the most fun based on an adaptation of all time. So what do you think we're talking about now?
So if we rewatched something this week,
and we're not going to talk about that. No,
we're not talking about SpongeBob.
We're talking about a trilogy adaptation.
Yeah, it's SpongeBob, right? I spent all weekend watching SpongeBob for this.
Yes, we're talking SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yay!
Yes. I thought you were going to say Lord of the Rings. That's why I used the word adaptation.
Uh-huh. Oh, right. Okay.
But yes, it is adapted from TV. So I had a look at this. There's not many TV shows that get turned into a trilogy of movies.
That's true. I mean,
And
it's
there's
clever,
not
yeah.
many TV show cartoon animated ones that get turned into a trilogy. I know Rugrats had
Rugrats
multiple films, but
had at least two. Did they have three in the end?
yeah, they had Meet the Thornberrys as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
But generally, animated TV shows might get straight to DVD, but not like all cinematic releases. So I think this is one of the very rare occasions where the
Yeah.
TV show has transcended into movies successfully multiple times.
And also, SpongeBob has been around for so long that he's had the time to have a movie release.
Yes, yeah. I mean, before we get into it, do you want to explain who SpongeBob is? SquarePants.
Who SpongeBob is? Oh yeah, so you were going to get some fun facts, and
I couldn't find any.
Oh.
I've come up with a different game at the end.
that's good because I was going to come up with some fun facts such as SpongeBob is a sponge.
Yes,
He's a sea sponge, except he's square and he's animated. So sponges generally just stay still and grow, or they can move a bit, but they're stuck to the bottom of the sea. But this sponge is the shape of a sponge that you use in your bath.
Yes, he is.
Or bath, from where I'm from. So my accent assimilates to your bath in the Midlands. And yeah, so he's a sea sponge. He's a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. Sees the world positively in everything that he does, and that's who he is. And some people kind of misunderstand him, I think.
Yeah.
That's a whole different topic, perhaps. So I think people see this big, smiling, annoying face and think that's the show, but that's actually the character. He is to be loved. The show itself is actually quite funny. So that's who SpongeBob SquarePants is. He's also, because he's SquarePants, he's kind of a square as well. He loves his life of going to work. And I've known people that are like that. Like I know someone who's into accounting. He used to be into accounting, and he loved his job in doing numbers. You know, like how can you be positive about having kind of a sort of kind of boring job? He's a fry cook, but he loves it. Like he's the guy that people say, oh, you're so funny working at McDonald's. Like you're as a teenager, just at low points, you'll do better. But he's happy in that life and he loves it and he sees the world positively.
Yes.
He likes fixing with his friend.
Yes, he does. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. I think it's about the customer experience as well. He's all about making people happy as well. Like he gets that buzz from making the good burger, being able to serve the burger, and then seeing people's reactions. I don't think he's. I think there's a bit more to him, right, than just the smiley face, like you said. And obviously, as the films go on, we'll kind of talk about his character arc in some of them, maybe, if there is such a thing for a cartoon.
Trilogy, yes.
Trilogy, yeah.
One overarching story, right?
Yes. Well, you could say that. Yeah, it is, because I think the whole point of number one was to be like the series finale for season 4, I think it was. And at that point, I think they didn't know if the TV show would go on or I don't know if they'd commissioned the following season, but then they eventually did and stuff. And then, years later, you have the next one, 11 years, and then 5 years after that. So the first one comes out in 2004. The new one is 2020. So 16 years between the first and this one. So it's a long, long time. So let's talk about the very first movie, SpongeBob SquarePants, the movie. Now, we talked about watching these out. We'll talk about them in order because it won't make sense, because I think you watched them out trilogy order.
That's right. I watched them backwards this time round, just to rewatch them. But I've obviously watched them in order.
Yeah, so
each one.
They're currently available in different streaming platforms. So Netflix in the UK has got number 1 and number 3. Now TV has number 1 and number 2, and Amazon Prime has none. So depends.
Well,
It
there you
depends
go.
how you want to
Slam
get.
dunk. That's a slam for Prime. Wow.
What is it? Slam doesn't. One of the big, the richest companies in the world cares nothing about this show.
And they can't
Um,
get they're just
So currently, if you were to guess how many episodes of SpongeBob they've had to date,
if I had
just
to
if you were to ballpark figure, yeah, roughly.
ballpark figure, I would, oh my gosh, probably a lot. I'd say 200 to 300 episodes.
Closer to 3 or closer to 2?
Closer to 3, I'll say.
265, yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Didn't even research. But
Okay, so tell us, SpongeBob SquarePants
Told
movie
you, I'm a
number
fan.
1. You are a fan, yeah. Okay, so as
Okay.
we say, yeah. So the first one, let's talk about that. So you saw this in 2004 when you were like 10, and you were well into SpongeBob by then.
I was 25 and I was definitely into SpongeBob. I love SpongeBob.
You're 10.
You don't have to be a kid to love SpongeBob. You just have to have a good sense of humour.
Yes. So I'll talk about the intro. Like I remember, I only just watched them recently, and I forgot about this. And you had the pirates.
I've forgotten as well.
The pirates sing the start of the film, the song, and you're like, oh, what are they doing? What's going on? And they went out to steal some booty, and it turned out to be tickets for SpongeBob SquarePants the movie.
SpongeBob, yeah, spoilers.
How brilliant is that? Yeah, obviously, obviously. But how brilliant was that?
Amazing, and they all pile into the cinema to watch SpongeBob, same as we're all doing.
Exactly, a bit
real life.
Yeah, a bit of meta commentary there for 2004 for those who were thinking. So what happened in the first one? Because I know you always have a foggy memory.
Well, I watched it just a few days ago, so this time I've forgotten already. It's okay. So there's a thing in SpongeBob. So SpongeBob the series, he has his friend Patrick, who's a starfish. Patrick Star is his full name.
Yes.
Oh, he's probably got a middle name, but I've forgotten that. And he works in the Krusty Krab, obviously, which is where he's a fry cook, owned by Mr. Krabs, who loves money. He's a crab who loves money.
Yes, he does.
Squidward, his next door neighbour, works on the till, but he's a miserable kind of guy. He's a sort of skeptic sort of guy, and he works on the till. But then, he fries up the Krabby Patty, which is a world famous burger, at least in Bikini Bottom and the surrounding area under the sea, but it's like world famous. You can call it that. And there's one person who loves to have that for themselves, and that is Plankton, who is a very, very tiny little guy, because obviously Plankton is tiny.
Yes.
And he owns a restaurant just opposite the Krusty Krabs called the Chum Bucket, which already sounds terrible. Like, why would you want to eat that? It's like raw meat. Sounds like raw meat, and it looks like raw meat whenever they show it as well. And he gets 0 customers, literally 0 customers in this movie. As in before this point, maybe within the movie he gets some customers, and yeah, so his idea to make his restaurant a success is always, as in the series, is to steal the Krabby Patty formula.
Yes,
and that's kind of an ongoing thing that comes up occasionally in the series. And this is kind of the big movie version of him actually managing to get hold of the Krabby Patty formula. And the story then goes that it's really SpongeBob needs to get the formula back. Is it the formula?
No, it's the King Trident's.
Oh yeah, I forgot already. It's the King's
Trident.
crown.
Yeah, because Plankton stole it. He then frames Mr. Crab for that, and then Neptune arrives at the Krabby, and then he puts him on ice, and then they have this hilarious thing where he tells him 10 days, and Patrick pops up and says, I can do it in 9, and he says 8, which I thought, still to this day, that holds up. That's really, really funny.
Classic Patrick.
And then they have exactly 6 days to get the crown back.
Yes.
And
Otherwise, Mr. Krabs will be disintegrated. And so he goes off on his journey, and then I guess meanwhile, Plankton has the opportunity at last to steal the formula.
Yeah. So this was Plan Z on his list of plans. Yes.
True. Because he didn't know that Z existed. Plan A to Y. I've done them all.
And this is after the night before SpongeBob goes on that bender with Patrick.
Oh yes,
which is really good.
Exactly. I mean, you can't call it a kids show when they have a drunken SpongeBob and Patrick right there on the screen. I mean, obviously it's kid friendly as well, but it's always got adult humour that adults will get. And he's obviously gone on a bender of like ice cream sundaes, basically. They've just eaten way too many ice cream sundaes, and even that, if you overdosed on sugar that one night, you would feel pretty rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty much he's drunk at the night, and then because he doesn't get his promotion that he's expecting, and then by the morning he's very hungover, and he comes in to have a go at Mr. Krabs for not giving him his promotion, which is what finally damns Mr. Krabs, because he doesn't get his character witness that he needed to save his life. So that's why Mr. Krabs gets frozen, doesn't even get his best character witness to stand up for him, and then now SpongeBob has to fix things because he didn't mean it, and he realised that straight away, and he wants to go on
and get the crown back. Yeah. And so this was kind of going to be a bit like a spoof on Finding Nemo. So Patrick was supposed to be the one who's going to be taken by, spoilers for this movie, the Cyclops guy who grabs them. Then SpongeBob would go to save them in a similar attempt as when Finding Nemo. So then they change the story. And I think it's better this way.
So they started it as that and then developed it better.
Yeah, so they then changed things about it. So you still have the Cyclops, you still have them being captured, you still have all of that bit. But what I like about it is you got to have that buddy element. It's got to be Patrick and SpongeBob on an adventure. It's a buddy comedy in essence, in which both Patrick's character comes along with SpongeBob, and then hilarity as always follows them. And they're being tracked down by Alec Baldwin's character Dennis, who's clearly a trained killer, and all he wants to do is put his boot on them. Yes. And it's all because SpongeBob tread on Plankton earlier on.
Yeah, so he wants Plankton.
He just wants to just tread on him. That's all he wants to do.
Tread on him. He says he's got massive spiked boots, so that's going to hurt. Although SpongeBob is already full of holes, so I can't imagine whether they do any damage or not. But yes, so they've got that, and then also they've got like the biker bar early on as well. I love that stuff. It's all very rock and roll and aimed at adults as well as children. All of the themes, which is what I love about it. And also obviously he's the story of SpongeBob's character in this one is that he's being considered a child. He's childlike, which is why he doesn't get the promotion, and he's out to prove himself as an adult. And obviously coming into the adult world of like the biker bar and things like that, he has to decide whether he is a man enough or not to do it. And he can pass there's a big pass at some point full of monsters, and will he be able to get through it? And he says no, he goes back, but eventually he gets tricked into thinking he's a man and goes through.
Yes, he does. And then they have that moment where right at the very end of that song where he then just says it's just him and Patrick going on, and the monsters are like, oh, and it's just and they have that moment of kind of there's so many great moments in this. I think this is an instant classic.
Yes, it's a very good movie.
I think to take whatever the show length is and turn it into like a 85-minute whatever movie, I think it really works. And there's bits of live action with the pirates to kind of pad it out a little bit. But actually, even for a 70-minute movie, I think this really works because there's enough happening for children and for adults, jokes wise, that is it's a fun adventure.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the Cyclops as well. We'll just mention that again because I forgot what the Cyclops meant, and you have it talked about throughout. Oh, there's the Cyclops that protects the city. Was it Shell City? And it's supposed to be a dark place. But then you have this image of this cartoon all the way through because it's a cartoon, and then you come up and it's an actual diver, a live action diver, diving suit, and his Cyclops is just his one glass look through, and Shell City is actually just a little cabin
souvenir shop,
a little cabin souvenir shop, and now SpongeBob.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
And this is where you start to movies.
Yes. But it's still animated, but for the first time they become live action for that 5 minutes or whatever it is. There's a real sponge there that's drying up.
Although it wasn't the first time they'd done little bits of live action as jokes. I think in the series they do occasionally have live action bits as jokes, but he hasn't actually come out of the water until the movie, which is a big thing, obviously.
And then he does that. They then come out, and then David Hasselhoff appears as David Hasselhoff.
As David Hasselhoff.
Looks incredible. The beautiful man himself. And then he swims them back. And then they head back to Bikini Bottom. There's so many elements where there's the bit where Patrick is they're reading the instructions on how to use that wind to come back. And they can't. There's so many bits in the film which I didn't know where it was going to go. I felt like, but it came back, and you know what? It was funnier route they took than maybe I would have done if I'd done that. And at the end, obviously, Plankton's whole thing was to enslave everyone and use the mind controlling thing. Yeah. But obviously, SpongeBob, through his maturity and as a person who has grown in the 80 or 70 minutes we've seen. He's actually grown as a person and therefore can save everyone. There's a great bit, you know, when they say if you go past this line, you won't last more than 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And then they cross the line on the car as well. The car's brilliant, which is the hamburger car. They cross the line, and then 12 seconds later, they've been robbed, and he's taken the car, and then he turns around and said, "How long was that?" It's so good. So many great one-liners.
He told them, though. It was more than 10 seconds. He won. Yes,
exactly. So, is there anything else you want to say about the movie before you give it your water rating?
Just one more thing I would point out is also that it was definitely had the original creator, I think, involved in it. So that's part of why it's the highest quality to sort of that abstract humour as well, which I love. But also there's a quite a few times you get some elements of Ren and Stimpy style animation as well, which is a point where, you know, you've got sort of gross out sort of animation, and that was something that I think was done quite a lot early on. So when they're sort of drying up is sort of the one I'm thinking of, but there's also other bits throughout where things are just like focusing on the sort of vulgarness of their animation occasionally for jokes, which is cool. Nice that he's come from that sort of thinking as well.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like the movie, you said like it was a huge hit because it cost like 30 million to make, something along those lines, and it grossed 141 million. So it's made a ton of money. And then obviously the thing that spawns off of this is video games, merchandising, you know, whatever they make on home rental, DVD sales and stuff. So yeah, it was a huge success for at the time as well. And you had Alec Baldwin played one of the characters. So the first time I started to introduce celebrity cameos, so you had David Hasselhoff, but you had Scarlett Johansson as one of the characters as well, and the usher who's in the very end in the post-credit scene, she's also someone quite famous as well. She's been in a bunch of movies and stuff as well.
Cool.
And it's kind of like the traditional hero's journey, kind of like simple story, but just with SpongeBob oozing out of it. It's so much fun.
Brilliant. And have you got a rating for it then? Or do
I did say we have to go nautical in this, and I did say about how wet did SpongeBob make you, but I couldn't come up with a rating for it. So you can bring in whatever rating you want for this one.
Okay. Well, I was when I watched the brand new one, I thought I had this one down as the best of the three, but I think I was misremembering. But it's still probably a 4-star if we're talking our usual thing. But if I was to rate them, I would say this is probably the second best. So we've got the best yet to come.
Oof. So you might be thinking the same thing I'm thinking.
I think so.
There's a better movie out there that we haven't seen. We just don't know what it is yet. Okay, so that's yes, I agree. I think the first one, it's simple, but let's introduce you to the SpongeBob characters in a funny way, and also you don't need to have seen the TV show. There's enough in here to keep it self-contained, and it's not a movie that's there's this reference here which we'll address in the third film or the second film. It's just start to finish, one film, self-contained.
I mean, do you need to watch it in the cinema? Maybe not. So maybe it's a 3-star for VOD.
Whoa.
Because maybe it's not necessary to watch it in the cinema. I don't know.
I think it is.
Yeah. Okay, let's skip to 4 then. Carry on. Moving on.
Okay, and then shortly after the release of this one.
Okay.
Many years later. It took
a new fact there.
2015, so 11 years later. So 2004, 2015, now you're 15 years of age, came the next one, which is Sponge Out of Water. So what's this one about?
What is this one about? I watched it last week, so let me just try and remember. I've just rewatched it. Okay, so this... I'll say something straight away, is that this one is called Sponge Out of Water.
Yes.
Yes, got it. And, Sponge was out of water last time. But, he's out of water again, clearly, at some point. All the advertising for it showed off the fact that Sponge was out of water in 3D. So 3D animated bits of being out of the water. And I think the trailers and stuff also show that there were like superheroes out of water, and for me that's all I can remember is, oh look, they're out of water. But what always surprises me, and surprised me again this time, because I confused the two movies, I started to think that the first half of this movie was the first movie, a lot of the bits of it, because the majority of it is actually normal animation under the water. Okay, so the story is... What is the story? They've lost the Krabby Patty formula again. That's pretty much it.
Nope.
Because,
Not yet. It doesn't start with... They haven't lost it yet.
Okay, but the main plot is that they're going to lose the Krabby Patty formula.
Yes.
It's going to disappear into thin air.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to... And Plankton was involved. And now SpongeBob is going to defend Plankton because he knows that it wasn't him, because he was there. It just disappeared into thin air. But everyone is blaming them both and out for blood. So SpongeBob and Patrick actually have to team up for once and go and find the Krabby Patty formula wherever it may be. But you want to backtrack to the whole story and how it begins. Of course, it starts with pirates again, and it's abstract and it's crazy and it's fun, and it starts with a pirate. Would you like to carry on with what you want to talk about?
Yeah, so it starts off with Antonio Banderas. So it's live action. He's a pirate, and he's trying to. At first, it's unclear as to what he's looking for, but he's looking for a piece of treasure.
Yeah.
And this treasure is a book, but initially you're not sure, and then there's these booby traps, and he just giggles and he walks ahead. The problem is because Johnny Depp did Captain Jack Sparrow
Yeah.
years earlier.
Yeah.
He's trying to do like a fun riff on pirates as well.
Yeah.
And it almost comes off as Johnny Depp light in
it
all
is.
of his scenes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was just, okay, look, it's fun, it's funny, let's do this. But it for me personally, some of it's cringeworthy. I'm just like, I've seen this. I've actually seen Johnny Depp, to be fair, in the first one, do a better job of this. And Antonio Banderas is a great actor. I mean, but it's just
it's not Johnny Depp. I would disagree with that. I would say that he's not Johnny Depp at all. He's more of just a fun character. They're basically, he's going to do something serious in a way, go and steal this thing. I'm a pirate, but it's just done in a very light-hearted way. And I can see where you're coming from with that. Is it Johnny Depp sort of thing? But I think Jack Sparrow. I think that's more of the just giving it that theme so that you're starting off with a completely different movie. So you're starting off with a pirate movie. It's kind of a Jack Sparrow-ish sort of character, perhaps. It's like before they sort of pull you into the story and get you down to the bottom of the sea.
There's a couple of bits that are a bit weird, which I'll talk about later on in the film. But he does that. He steals the book, which is all great. Then he reads the book to the seagulls. So a note on the seagulls. So in the US version, I don't know what DVD version you've got.
Right.
The actors who play the seagulls are different to the UK version, who we've got people like Alan Carr, Stacey Solomon, but they are, because when I was watching the film and I heard Alan Carr on there, I was like, did he get this gig? Because this is a huge motion picture. Like Alan Carr's like a UK household name, but I don't is he doing stuff in the US as well, like voiceover stuff? Matt Berry, I can understand, he plays Bubbles, but you do have so they do this a lot, I think, in when they do foreign dubbing. So sometimes they'll have the actor, the main actor, he or she may do different voices, but I know Jack Black was saying when he did Kung Fu Panda, they had a counterpart of his in certain countries. And so when they were promoting the film, he would go to the other country and he'd actually meet the person who did the dubbing, but he's there promoting this film, Jack Black. But in their version, he's not even in the film. So
he's not needed there, basically.
He's not, but he's Jack Black. Jack Black. I mean, he's a huge celeb. So anyway, so he steals that. He's got the seagulls. They sing the song, and it turns out, you're right. It starts off with this big action set piece where Plankton is on the mission to steal the formula again, as always. But we're just kind of thrown into that, and then Plankton and SpongeBob have that little. Okay, they've got what they think is a formula. It's in their hand. And poof, it disappears, but nobody believes them, and then they have to go on the run. And then they were like, "How bad can it be?"
In time.
Yeah, so they're like, "How bad can it be?" And it becomes like a Mad Max dystopian future within a day or so.
Well, not within a day or so. It's
a couple of hours, right?
Literally, they say it, and then it happens just like that. That it magically appears on them immediately, and they. Destroying everything.
It's wicked. It's so good.
And again, without adult-friendly humor,
Yes.
That we can enjoy.
and then you're right. Then they have to break out the robot so they can create time. What I love is they create a time machine.
Yes.
Right. They go back in time to try and steal the formula. It turns out they steal the wrong thing. Patrick,
you just know it's going to be the wrong one because there was one put there that was the wrong one in the first place. You know it's going to happen.
But what I like is then Patrick went back in time as well, or he used the time machine. But they used the time machine and they saw Bubbles as well, which is a different element, which is the dolphin. But what they didn't do was, which they did in Family Guy, was in Family Guy they used the time machine, but they kept going back in time.
Yeah.
And then there was multiple versions of Stewie and Brian, and then they had to kill each other and stuff. And obviously Family Guy did it. It's great. It's hilarious. But I really did want them to go back in time more than once, and I just thought, go back once, do what you need to do, and hopefully you come back, even if it's wrong. We'll fix it somehow. And I'm glad they didn't then reuse the time machine again and again.
That's it. It was just one
and done
gag, It's like it's just another abstract out there bit of humour from SpongeBob.
Yeah, and Sandy gets that letter about the end with the crabby
She
thing.
gets the last page.
Yeah, and she then obviously what I love is after they're trying to execute them, and then they realize that hey, we don't need to wear these clothes anymore. Mr. Crab takes them off, and it's just like Scribworth goes, well,
Yeah.
what? We could just take these off. And
I didn't know we could just take these off.
It's brilliant. And then it becomes a story of unlikely duo story into all about teamwork.
Yeah,
And I think for little kids and stuff, this is great meaning about like coming together, banding together, and in this case, obviously defeating the big bad, but just coming together and doing things together, relying on each other to help out. I think there's a good message in this one.
Plankton learning the meaning of TM work.
Yes, and I remember this one, and in my head I was thinking this is the weak one. Because they came out of water and stuff, and when I watched it years ago,
you remember exactly.
But I was thinking this. I felt like this is the one that's going to drag. There's a lot of good comedy and stuff in it, and then they came out. What was your overall on this one? What did you enjoy it as much or not?
This is the best film ever. This is one of the top movies of all time. It's got so much abstract humor, and that's just my favorite thing in the world. Really.
So I'm glad you said that, because this is the Michael Bay of movies, right? So this starts off with an action
Michael
set
Bay
piece. It does. It starts off with this massive action.
Words away.
It starts off with this massive action set piece. Something happens, then the whole movie changes, and then right at the end, they all become CGI versions of themselves.
Yeah, true.
And then you have a CGI heavy and live action versus CGI characters battle for the Krabby formula, and everyone gets involved. And I just thought, to be fair, I love Michael Bay films. I don't care what people say. So to me, this was great as well. I love this time round. I thought this was amazing. Maybe when I was like 10 and I watched it, I didn't like it that much. But I was like, this is like a Michael Bay movie. It was just non-stop action. I felt they go back in time. They get caught when they come back from back in time. Then they bring in Squidosaurus. this Bubbles comes in. It's just non-stop. I felt there was constantly stuff going. Yeah,
it's a proper movie. They've really made everything big.
It's an action, exactly. And I knew you'd love this one because you love Michael Bay too, and you love everything he does. And I thought you'd fall into the same thing. It's great, right? The end. Even coming, I think when they came,
funny.
So when I first watched it, and as a kid, and they came out water, I thought merchandise. I thought, oh, they've done this for merch. But now I watch it, and I just watch it through.
You're like 5 years old, not bloody merchandise.
I was just like, I need to buy another SpongeBob. Look at this one. But now I'm just like, I can sit back and enjoy it. Like they come on land. A lot of funny jokes. But what's weird is obviously the girl, not the girl, but the person who's the squirrel, Sandy, that's it. Yeah, so the squirrel, obviously, she lives on land.
When you're sitting on the beach.
She lives on land. She takes off the helmet. She goes, I can breathe, which is great. But they're on the beach and they're pushing a man over. Yeah. And she knows he's man and he can breathe in air. Like he doesn't need the water. So I don't know why she helped them. It's just like, what are you doing?
Know what that is? Yeah.
It was just that moment. I'm thinking. I was just thinking, why are you helping them? You should be telling you're a squirrel.
Well, to be fair, she had gone a bit crazy, so maybe she still has some craziness going on.
And she turned into this super cute squirrel as well. You know, when they came back onto live action, is amazing. An absolutely incredible film, I have to say.
And then her superpower is becoming an even bigger squirrel.
Yes, it is. Yes. Even the very end fight where Antonio Banderas is characters firing off all those cannons at SpongeBob and them. All of this, I mean, it's not that old, but I thought the CGI skeleton at the start and all of those bits look really good still. It still holds up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's still
kind of
really funny.
slightly cartoony CGI.
Yeah.
So it can't really age. It can only get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then right at the very end, Bubbles drops a rap, which I thought was wicked.
I love that too. Bubbles rapping. That's my abstract kind of humour. I love that.
And it's great because when Bubbles goes, look, all you got to do is look out this window. And I'm just like, while I go for a
Why
pee
would you
break.
leave anyone just to watch the universe? Watch the universe for me. Okay, I'm watching it. That's literally like when someone tells me to watch something in the kitchen. I'm just okay, I can watch it.
Do you want me to turn it on or off? What?
What do you want me to do? I'm just gonna watch it.
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's true though. What are they to do? Like, what do you want them to do?
Exactly. How are they supposed to stop the planets hitting each other? And also, it explains something about the macro physics. You know, why things act differently on the quantum level in reality to like the macro level of big things, because there's a dolphin in the future like controlling it all, making sure things don't crash together.
Yes, and he comes in at the end and he gives them their superpowers and stuff and drops a rap in 2D. So he goes from being that animated to becoming the traditional 2D cartoon that SpongeBob is, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So what's your rating on this one?
My rating is 4 stars for this one.
4 stars. So this one actually went and cost more, so 60 million, which shows because the whole thing at the end, but grossed 325 million worldwide. So even bigger box office returns.
Yeah, and like I say, I misremembered that the Mad Max scenes as being the first one. So I was going in to rewatch them. I was thinking it would be 4 star, 3 star, 2 star maybe for like in order.
Yeah.
But then I realised it was the best stuff was in this one as well. So
wasn't it? Yeah.
This is the best one for me. All the abstract humour. Although the first one is a classic sort of episode done long.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite match the movie style of this one.
So even the critics kind of agree with you. So they gave the first one about 69% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and this one got 81%.
Nice. It's in the successful ballpark.
Yeah.
Of timeless successes of movies. The Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame, yes. And then that moves us straight into number 3, Sponge on the Run. So what's this one about?
This is the one I watched furthest to go now, and I've only watched it once. So bear with me. Okay, he's a sponge and he's on the run. Right, okay, I got it. This is my version of the story. I don't know about yours, you might have more to add. Plankton wants to steal the Krabby Patty. His computer wife convinces him that it's not actually Mr. Krabs that's in the way, but SpongeBob.
Yes, that's right.
So he comes up with a plan to get rid of SpongeBob instead and get him out of the way. And that plan is to... Oh, well, he doesn't exactly make the plan. He comes across the plan when he sees that the king of, I don't know, the sea? Just a king.
King Poseidon.
King Poseidon, yeah. Okay.
So a different King Poseidon from the first movie.
Different
and
one.
a different voice actor as well.
He's very different. Yeah, we'll come on to that though, because the whole thing is different in some ways. Anyway, he uses snails as to use their jelly as a face cream or something like that, and he's run out of snails because he's gone through them all. He's dried them all out.
Yes.
And there's no snails left at all until Plankton finds one of his wanted posters because he's looking for a snail. He wants for a reward. And he says, I can steal SpongeBob's pet snail, Gary, and send him to the king, and then that will send SpongeBob looking for him.
Yeah.
And it works. SpongeBob goes off looking for his pet snail, Gary. And pet snails, if you don't know the SpongeBob universe, are basically pets. They're like cats. You go, meow. And yeah, he has to go looking for Gary.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to how SpongeBob met Gary, how SpongeBob first met
young
Patrick
throughout,
yeah.
isn't there?
Yeah, and it's still a story about Patrick and SpongeBob on an adventure together to get Gary back, and about what you'd give up to have your friend back. Because towards the end of the film, it's kind of like that. Like, would you give up everything? Because King Poseidon gives him an option towards the end. I'll keep Gary, or do you persevere and stick to your plan, which was to get Gary back? It felt, I don't know if you saw this bit, there's a bit when they're in the car, and it felt like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro, where these two are on a trip. Well, I felt like they'd got a bit high, and when they're talking intellectual and they're doing their bit.
Oh yeah.
I thought, it felt like a little spoof on that. This one's got a lot of cameos because I didn't watch the trailer.
Okay.
And I was surprised, and he took me by surprise, and I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, you had Neo from The Matrix in there.
Yes, spoiler alert, Keanu plays the Sage.
The Sage. Literally a ball of sage.
With a head. Keanu.
With a face, yeah.
Aquafina played the Otter. Danny Toretto played El Diablo. Tiffany Haddish, she's been in loads of comedy stuff. She was one of the Masters of Cemetery, and also Snoop Dogg as the gambler, and he dropped a rap Snoop as Dogg. Well. And exactly, just reminded me of Versus again. I was like, yeah, Snoop in the building.
Argue with that.
Because in Rugrats, the movie, the Rapture, the character that they have, they've got Busta Rhymes voiced that character. And so when I saw Snoop, I was like, yo, Snoop. And I just thought it was wicked. It was great. In terms of,
that was a good part of the movie as well. Yeah.
In terms of this one, it felt like, I felt it kind of like they were trying to pad bits out to try and get to this journey. And then at the end, they all come together and they realize how important SpongeBob is to them, to Squidward, Krabs, to Sandy, and even how much Plankton needs him. Because what he realizes by sending him off, Mr. Krabs has no one, and he's just like, you can have whatever you want. Take the restaurant, take whatever. I don't care. And then he realized it's a false victory. Is it though? Because that's your. I
know SpongeBob is all fun and games, and you want that joy to be around all the time. But it's kind of a bit of a sellout to just sort of idolize SpongeBob that badly.
I think sometimes you don't realize how important that one person is in that establishment. True. So obviously Squidward might take, I don't know what he does at the role, but he'll play some sort of role. Mr. Krabby relies on SpongeBob so heavily, like at the start when he's serving all these people. It's just him. It's a one-man show. And he's the reason why the customers come through the door.
He's the real formula, in a way.
Yeah, so as good as the burgers are only as good as the person making them.
I guess it's just kind of a bit meta. Strange.
Yes. And the CG is very different now.
Yeah, it's no longer animated. It's kind of a weird, cheap sort of CGI. What would you describe it as?
It's a weird 3D.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it, and I also felt a lot of the jokes that could have been funny were like slowed down by the way it was animated, which is, I know, is quite a common thing when you're changing mediums and stuff. But yeah, it didn't do it any favors really.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but I think it's maybe because of the way animations moved on.
Yeah,
it might be that it's quicker to do an animated film in this way than it was to do that original hand drawn. And I think this way, I thought straight away this would sell more toys because they look very toyish in a way.
Yeah.
So maybe that there's a whole thing to it, but then also like just being able to create a world in this they look like little models. They almost look like stop motion characters.
Yeah, claymation or something.
Yeah, And I think it was fine for most part, but because I just watched all three in a row,
Yeah.
it's a leap forward in animation, especially because the second one when they went on land and they looked a certain way, and I quite like that style. But now they've moved to a different style.
Yeah.
But it still had the great humor, like when they get stuck in prison, and they both have a flashback on the coin, and then Patrick says, "This is what you told me." And then he just gets out of the prison and just walks off. Stuff like that is still really good. It's really good, funny, but it's too sprinkled. It just
lands differently for some reason, and that's unfortunate.
For me, I just felt it was a bit sparse. Some of the comedy, like in the second one, I felt the comedy there's more comedy beats.
Yes,
more memorable bits. I felt like this one had it, but it was a bit more sparse and it was a bit more padded out in places.
So it sounds like we're both feeling a bit negative about the latest one.
No, I still think we still agreed it was a masterpiece.
It's still the greatest trilogy of all time. Obviously.
It's still well. Look, we have to caveat TV animated Nickelodeon production
conversion
trilogy of all time. Yes,
trilogy of all time.
I think for me, Rugrats number one.
If you exclude Rugrats,
if you exclude Rugrats, obviously, because Rugrats meets Go Wild, I think it's called, or meets the Wild Thornberrys.
Yeah,
I really like that one. That's one of my faves. The first Rugrats movie is good. Rugrats in Paris was okay. So yeah, I think as a TV. Animated TV series by Nickelodeon that converted into live action movies trilogy called SpongeBob. This is the greatest one.
Well, this last movie did well enough that I convinced you to watch it, so it wasn't too bad. Because I said I'd rate it at two stars. Watch if it's on stream, because it was on stream, so you can watch it on 2 stars. Like, there's no question about it. But after I rewatched the other two, and I got to the third movie as well, or the third movie when I was watching them backwards, I suddenly felt like a lot of the beats, a lot of the ideas that they had in the third movie were just rehashes of the first movie. It was almost like it was almost in reboot territory.
Yeah.
So they've done a 3D reboot of the first movie and changed everything.
Yeah, but I think the meaning
that can be a good thing.
The meaning about this one had a more of a in your face meaning than the first one. So the first one, the second was all about teamwork, and that theme throughout the whole film. But the first one, it wasn't so in your. It was just about growing up. This one had more about kind of like your friendship, not just who you're with, those who are no longer with you, kind of, and it kind of had a let's all band together in this one. And obviously rescue SpongeBob, and also right at the very end, it's about King Poseidon kind of giving up the vanity, and just kind of being yourself and not worrying about what anyone else thinks, what you look like and stuff. So it had a different kind of.
It's a good message, but the message you say it's in your face. You can also say it was very basic. The message as well.
It's a kids movie.
You can use that as an excuse, but the SpongeBob has always been great for adults as well. And this one has some stuff that's for adults, which I'm starting to remember now, and I'm going to have to rewatch it again already because there were some good bits in it. But there's also another point with you remember the first movie, SpongeBob gets drunk, and then he comes in and he's got that one chance to be the person that defends Mr. Krabs.
Yes. In
a court against King Poseidon, a different King Poseidon.
Yes,
and if he lets him down, he doesn't defend him. And then this one, you've got to pick King Poseidon again, different one with a different situation. His daughter's no longer there, so that's a great character that's gone. And then he ends up in the opposite situation where he's in court, and everyone's singing his praises throughout. So it's like such a twist of the first movie.
Well, it's not, is it? Because he still went and he got the crown to save Mr. Krabs, and then in the second film he still saved the Krabby and he helped get the formula back. So Mr. Krabs has realized that, you know what, SpongeBob isn't just a cash cow. He's
Yeah.
actually more than that. He's family. And so for him to step up at that point and to sing his praises and
That's
to
a
kind of
very
like
good point.
to talk about kind of the one thing he loves is money. That's
Yeah.
blatantly obvious. But really, he loves SpongeBob on a different way that he never knew, and he had to realize that during this film.
You've changed my opinion, actually. Yeah, because this movie, there's things that just didn't seem right because they were changed and they were different, and straight away they were different. Like Mr. Krabs, knowing that SpongeBob was the heart of the Krusty Krab, he kind of knew that straight from the offset in this movie. But you're right, this is the greatest movie trilogy of all time because you've got him going through that journey throughout the whole trilogy.
Yes.
Which means you've got an end to the trilogy where Mr. Krabs has a turnaround of character.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's what I
so-
mean. It's like I think it's a bigger character piece than we originally thought. It's good. It's just obviously the animation's moved on, so it looks a bit different. But it's on streaming. It's still worth a watch. There are some good funny bits in there, and I think for a kids film you have to put the messages in there, but I don't know how you can do it so it's still kid friendly. Because that's going to be your audience at the same time. So yeah, I think it worked for me personally. It's not the strongest trilogy ender. Like we'll talk about it in a minute, but there are better movies that ended off a trilogy, but this one is still good. So what's your rating? Have I changed you from a 2 to a 4, or 2 to a 3, or 2.5?
I'm still at 2 stars. Okay, so what it is,
So close.
When I watched this the first time, I thought, which was on November 5th, the day it came out into Netflix.
Yes.
Day 1, day 0, and I thought, okay, this is 2 star, and I think the trilogy is 4 star, 3 star, 2 star. Then I rewatched them, and I thought, you know what, actually, it probably goes 3 star, 4 star, 2 star, and then I decided, actually, I'm not happy with this. It's probably going to be 4 stars, 1 star.
Yeah.
But now you've sold me back to a 2 star. It is a trilogy ender. Mr. Krabs has made his journey. There's some fun stuff with the whole Diablo stuff, which is where it sort of goes towards the more adult edge that SpongeBob always has.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to stick with 2 stars. If it's on streaming service, you've already paid for your streaming service.
So you've gone into 4-4-2.
4-4-2, yeah.
Which is a great football reference, by the way. Anyone who plays FIFA or football will know 4-4-2 is a formation.
Yeah,
it's
that's
one
right.
that England used to play a lot. So yes,
That's how they lose, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Formula.
So obviously, Sponge Out of Water, the best one in the trilogy, and then On the Run, the weakest, let's say, of the trilogy. Not a bad trilogy. So I'm going to give you trilogy movies. The highest grossing movies are a trilogy, and so number 3 in the trilogy, the highest grossing ones, and you have to say if they are a SpongeBob Fish Out of Water. What did I say the number 2 name was again?
Sponge Out of Water?
Sponge Out of Water. Yes, so you either say it's
Fish Out of Water.
You say Sponge Out of Water or Sponge on the Run. Okay. So that's your 2 choices.
That means
and
it's
that will
the height of the trilogy or the lowest?
The lowest of the trilogy, okay?
Okay.
So the highest, so it's the height of the trilogy. You say Sponge Out of Water. You say lowest point of the trilogy. You say Sponge on the Run. Okay. So just 15. We'll whiz through these quite quickly. So this is the lowest to highest grossing third film in a trilogy. Some of these movies may have 5, 6, but I'm only concentrating on number 3. Okay. Matrix Revolution, the third film in the Matrix trilogy. Is that Out of Water or is that On the Run?
That's On the Runs. I've got the runs.
That's got the runs. Okay. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
Thing is, people would have watched it thinking it's going to be the next best movie because there were 3 of them. But it's still on the runs for me. So sales-wise, it might have done okay. Yeah, on the runs.
The Bourne Ultimatum.
We'll call that one Sponge Out of Water.
Oh, that's the first one.
I haven't really seen the trilogy.
You've given the seal of approval to X-Men: The Last Stand.
Can't remember if this one was the one that was quite frowned upon. Let's say sponge out of water anyway.
Out of water, good. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Last Crusade. This was a classic. It's sponge out.
Sean Connery. Oh, brilliant. Twilight Saga Eclipse.
Twilight Saga. I mean, the Twilights. I think the whole series is just equally as bad or good. So we'll call it sponge out of water.
Out of water again. Wow. Okay, Harry Potter and the Prison of Azkaban. It's the third Harry Potter movie.
Again, these ones just kept going up. It's got to be a sponge out of water again.
Out of water. Shrek the Third.
Shrek the Third, for me, they went downhill. So it's a sponge on the runs.
On the runs, yes.
Got the runs.
Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. So the
Star
first
Episode 3. That's not the third in the trilogy.
That's the prequels
of the prequels. Okay, that's not the third of the trilogy. The third of the trilogy is Return of the Jedi.
But no, this is based on highest grossing. That's why.
Okay. What was it? Return of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith. That's the one. Out of those three, I'm still going to go for runs. On the runs. I might be wrong.
Ooh. What about Ice Age: Dawn of Dinosaurs?
That's a tough one. But Ice Age keeps going up. I'm going to go with Sponge on the Run.
Yeah, I actually really like number 3.
Sponge out of water, I mean.
Yeah, number 3 is really, really funny. Spider-Man 3, the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Oh, was this
with Venom?
Was this a flop or not? I can't remember now. This is one of the first things we talked about on the podcast, like years ago, and I can't even remember. I'm just going to go for... Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go for the runs. I'm just going to stick to the runs for that one.
The runs, okay. Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Well, that was all the way up for quite a while, especially up to its third one. So I'm going to go for, Sponge out of water.
Ooh. Toy Story 3.
Sponge out of water, even though that's debatable, but Sponge out of water.
Yeah, I think it is. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Is that the height of the entire trilogy?
For me, it's not. I love Two Towers out of the movies. It's just too big, too much CGI. But as it's the end of the trilogy, I don't know.
The question is always, is this the best in the trilogy? So is Lord of the Rings, Return of the King the best in the trilogy?
So grossing... It's not about grossing, but it's about reviews. Okay.
Yes. So does it? If we were to do the same Lord of the Rings trilogy, and you said Sponge Out Water is number 2, then this would be the weakest one. It's controversial, but you got to say Return of the King's the weakest one.
Yeah, it is the weakest one.
Even though it's the best. And the last one, Transformers: Dark of the Moon.
They're all rubbish, aren't they?
They're all equally rubbish, yeah.
They're all equally rubbish, so what can we say? I mean, you want me to compare them to the other two. Let's say they're going up. They're doing better. It's a sponge out of water.
Yeah, brilliant.
For their audience, they're just getting worse.
They're getting worse,
better for them.
Brilliant. So that's our trilogy game, and that's our review of SpongeBob SquarePants, the trilogy.
Did I get it right?
No, you got them all wrong.
All wrong.
All of them.
Yeah, really, every single one.
No, it's just opinions, right? So all of them. All of them are right.
Oh yeah, I had my opinion, so I was right.
Exactly.
Yay. Now I'm gonna have to look it up, listen to our own show, look them all up.
It's difficult because when you think about like the last movie in a trilogy. Because in the case of this one, if there's no more, they're not making any more tomorrow. At least at that point, that's kind of like your swan song. That's the last one. So do you? And in most of these cases, I'm looking at some of these movies and Transformers. I mean, yeah, you're right. They're as bad as each other. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. It's a good movie, It's a strong movie, but
It's a
you're right.
long,
I
slow
think
movie.
number 2's better, and
Yeah.
plus they split the books a bit, so they took some elements of number 3 into 2 and stuff. Toy Story 3, I love 2, but I think 3 ends the trilogy really well.
It's a good ending, but then they
Pirates
didn't
of the-
end it.
Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean. I love the first one. I didn't like any others, so for me that's a no. Spider-Man 3, I think the series was on the downward turn after number 2. Dawn of the Dinosaurs I really liked it. It's so funny. It's weird. Like
I haven't seen them all, but
the first one was good. Second one I thought was okay, but the third one I thought was really funny. It was really, really good. And it introduces a new element. So we had dinosaurs, and Simon Pegg played one of the characters in there as well. So it's really good. The prequels I think as good as each other. I think Shrek 1 great, Shrek 2 good, Shrek 3 and 4 terrible. So I think you're right. Harry Potter movies, they went up on an upward spiral in a way, because the first one was Chris Columbus. I think the second one was him again. But by the third one, they got in a different director, and they went in a darker, more kind of that too as well. And the books, obviously, it's down to the book material as well. The books were getting better as well. So JK, she was writing better books by that point. So the third one had a better book. So I agree, that one's better.
She was letting Harry grow up with the audience, apparently.
Exactly, yeah. And Twilights, they're as good as each other. I think Indy is a good example where the movies have been consistently good, I think. The first three. So, I can say, The Last Crusade at that point, because there was many years before another one. So you could almost say, that was a good end to the whole trilogy. The first X-Men movie was okay. The second one was much better. The third one was terrible, in my opinion. So,
it's a bad one.
It was rubbish. The Bourne movies, that's an odd one, because I think they're all really good. The first
quite
3.
Equal, I haven't seen them, but they sound good and they seem to be holding up. So yeah.
And then Terminator 2 is a masterpiece. So Terminator 1 in horror, sci-fi themes.
1 and 2 are
so you were never gonna get close to that. And I think Matrix Revolutions, I think the first one had some good ideas and good themes, and by the third one they didn't know how to finish it.
Hey, wasn't there a Terminator recently that you decided was
really
series?
good.
It's the new third in
the new trilogy, but that's not on the list because it didn't make this much money. But the only one that's not on the list, which is weird because it is an absolute classic, is Logan, which is the third Wolverine film. That's really good. That's incredible. That is really,
better
really good.
Than the other ones.
By far, amazing. Anyway, so that's our trilogy rundown and our trilogy talk about SpongeBob SquarePants, the greatest TV adaptation of all time by Nickelodeon, with the word SpongeBob in it.
In the last decade.
In the last couple of decades. Brilliant. Yeah, thanks for listening. How do they contact us?
They can contact us by contacting us anywhere with MyGuy reviews, such as Instagram, Twitter. You can find us on YouTube as well with our video game content and such. And you can find all the actual links in the description. Perfect.
That's right. And thanks for listening. Tell a friend, subscribe on your apps, whatever you're using. You can now just hit 5-star reviews straight on the app. So just do that. And literally just, thanks for listening again.
Yeah. Just rate us 5 stars. You're ready, right? I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yes. And thanks for listening. Thank you, guys.
Cheerio.
Bye.
No, it's me that's talking about it. Oh,
brilliant. MyGuy Reviews, the podcast